Been here in a while.
Bob, can you hear me? I guess I can hear myself. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for being on time. We're just going to wait a few more minutes, and then we'll get the meeting started. Thank you.
That's fine. That's, then you gotta put up the one below that. Just open, just gotta put that, see it's right here?
Just to give everyone notice, the meeting is being live streamed, and we are live now. If I could ask the commissioners to get settled so we can begin the meeting, that would be great.
Okay.
As well as everyone else that's here today. Thank you. I have to beg everyone's indulgence. This is our first in-person meeting since February of 2020, and this is my first in-person meeting chairing the CDC. So please bear with us today. Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome to the June 13th regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Gwendolyn Hatton Butler, Chairwoman of the CDC. Today's meeting is being held at City Hall in room 201A and is also being streamed by the Department of Planning and Development. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on June 9th on the CDC's website and physically in City Hall. I will now call to order the June 13th meeting of the Community Development Commission with a call of the roll. Commissioners, when your name is called, please respond by saying present. Vice Chair Wheat.
Present.
Secretary Chan McKibben. Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox. Here. Commissioner Curtis. Here. Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Trevino. And Chair Hatton Butler is here. We have a quorum. The first item on our agenda requests approval of the minutes from our previous meeting held on May 9th, 2023. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there are no corrections, I am looking for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Thomas. Do I have a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cox.
Seconded by Commissioner Cox. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, votes will be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. If you were not in attendance during the May 9th, 2023 meeting, please abstain from this vote. Vice Chair Wheat.
Abstain.
Secretary Chan McKibben. Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Abstain.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino. And Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes. Commissioners, today's agenda will begin with one item of old business, which requires us to recess from our regular CDC meeting to hold a public hearing on the proposed Amendment Number 4 of the Northwest Industrial Corridor TIF redevelopment project area, and to recommend or oppose adoption of Amendment Number 4 for the area. Tim Jeffries will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Tim, you may begin.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Butler and members of the Community Development Commission. For the record, my name is Tim Jeffries, Managing Deputy Commissioner in the Department of Planning. I'm here today to request your recommendation of the Fourth Amendment of the Northwest Industrial Tax Increment Financing District. The Northwest Industrial TIF was originally designated on July 27th, 1998, and is generally bound by Fullerton Avenue to the north, Hamlin Avenue to the east, Lake Street to the south, and Laramie Avenue to the west. It's also primarily in the Humboldt Park, Austin, and Hermosa community areas, as well as the 26th, 28th, 36th, and 37th wards. This amendment is necessary because of the previously approved extension of this TIF district. In November of 2021, the state authorized a 12-year extension of the Northwest Industrial TIF district to allow for the continued redevelopment of the industrial corridor. City Council then subsequently approved Amendment Number 3 in October of 2022, which affirmed that extension. As a result, the city is now pursuing the action before you today, which includes a modest expansion of the existing boundaries, as well as updating the existing redevelopment plan to revise the budget, update the land use map to reflect current conditions, and make minor amendments to the plan language. In determining which TIF district should be extended, DPD and other departments undertook a robust data analysis and review of the overall community needs. Based on that review, it was found that the area still demonstrated criteria which warranted the continued use of TIF, including demographic indicators like higher than average poverty and unemployment rates. Additionally, the area's aging infrastructure continues to be in significant need of improvement, especially for modern industrial users. Finally, the TIF also continues to support two Invest Southwest corridors and the related projects. If approved, this action would most significantly result in the minor expansion of the existing boundaries of the TIF to add 32.6 acres of property, which is roughly the equivalent of 6 Chicago blocks. This includes the four different sub-areas shown on the map. The 2 Grand Avenue sub-areas on the furthest northwest on the map would add commercial property on the northern side of Grand Avenue in areas where the southern side is already in a TIF district. DPD is not precisely clear why these TIFs were originally omitted from the designation, but at this point we do believe that having this kind of sawtooth boundary does not represent a best practice, and this would address that. The Kenton Avenue subarea would add a portion of industrial property that is contiguous with the larger industrial area north of Lake Street, but is also not currently within the TIF district. Finally, the fire station area would include the current Engine Company 95 facility, so that TIF could be a potential resource for building improvements in the future. In order to add these sub-areas to the TIF district, the State TIF Act requires that each demonstrate the presence of no less than 3 blighting factors that determine if an area can be legally included within a TIF district. After a comprehensive survey of the area, the city determined that they generally do demonstrate the presence of at least 4 of the qualifying factors, including deterioration, which is characterized by the failure of the building systems and building components, including poor masonry, broken and unsecured doors and windows, broken fencing, and other issues. Number 2, the presence of buildings that are already currently in violation or would potentially be in violation of the city's minimum code standards that represent a potential life and safety issue. Number 3, a lack of economic growth as measured by EAV over the past 5 years. And finally, the utilities in the area were confirmed to be well past their useful life, and the Department of Water Management determined that they are inadequate for the area's current uses. A parcel level analysis of these factors is included in the revised redevelopment plan that was previously circulated to CDC commissioners as well as placed on file in the city clerk's office. The redevelopment amendment, or the redevelopment plan amendment, rather, also includes a general land use plan of the future development within the TIF. And given the wide number of uses throughout, as well as the need to reflect the rapidly changing industrial sector, this map generally only includes the mixed use designation, which allows for a broad number of land uses, including commercial, industrial, residential, and institutional uses throughout the district. And finally, each TIF district has a list of goals and objectives that it sets out for and the reason it exists. As we've noted, the big picture goal is certainly the redevelopment of this general area, but more specifically, the goals include the redevelopment of existing structure, in particular, the ability to renovate or attract new industrial and business developments, the development of affordable housing, as well as the improvement of infrastructure, parks, and schools throughout the TIF district. And lastly, in order to account for the additional increment that is generated over the extended 12-year term of the TIF district, the redevelopment budget is also being adjusted. The total increment now expected to be generated over the life of the TIF is an estimated $350 million. As you can see, it's expected that the majority of these funds will be used for public works, with additional funds earmarked for environmental remediation and the construction of affordable housing. So in conclusion, the DPD is requesting CDC's recommendation to continue the approval of this amendment in order to ensure that it will be a financial resource for the neighborhood and to improve aging infrastructure, support economic development, and make improvements to the neighborhood's schools, parks, and roads. I'd like to thank you for your time and favorable consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Tim. Tim, which alderpersons are impacted by this amendment? In order of their coverage of the TIF district, 37, 28, 26, and 36. So that's Mitz, Irvin, Fuentes, and Villegas. Great, thank you so much. Are any of the alderpersons that Tim just mentioned present with us, or anyone from their office, their teams? If you are, if you would like to make a statement, that would be great. Thank you. I don't see anyone raising their hands, so we will now move on to written statements from the public. And there were no written statements from the public submitted on this matter. So we will now move to questions from members of the commission. Commissioners, Tim Jeffries is available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, one question. Question for staff. There's a considerable allocation or potential allocation around affordable housing associated in the redevelopment. I know that, and this is included in the notes, that affordable housing was not eligible during the last reauthorization. But are there particular projects or concepts that are already in the queue that the department plans to pursue given the new authorization?
Nothing immediately comes to mind. That said, their Department of Housing is going to have their qualified allocation plan released, I believe, either at the end of this month or next month. So there's a whole new slate of projects coming, and so I can follow up with Department of Housing and follow up with you through the chair. But I think this is more just general allowance to be strategic if and when it comes up, because it's, these deals are extremely hard to get financed without TIF.
Got it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there other members of the commission that have questions? If there are no further questions from members of the commission, I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Are there members of the public that would like to make a statement on this item? Given that there are no hands raised and there are no further questions or comments, we will now adjourn the public hearing and reopen the regular CDC meeting so that we may call item A to a vote. The resolution before us would provide the Department of Planning and Development with CDC's recommendation to approve the redevelopment plan for the Northwest Industrial Corridor Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area Amendment Number 4 and the adoption of Amendment Number 4 for the area. Do I have a motion? So moved by Commissioner Thomas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Wheat. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat.
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben.
Abstain.
Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino. And Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes. And just for clarification, Tim and Bob, for the record, Commissioner Trevino has resigned from the
Yes.
commission, correct? So
Yes.
we will strike her name from any further considerations. Thank you. And let's make sure the department's website reflects that change. Thank you. Commissioners, for the next item of business, the Department of Housing is seeking authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Parkside Phase 2 Limited Partnership for the redevelopment of property located at 500 through 520 West Hobby Street, 558 through 576 West Elm Street, 1101 through 1129 North Cambridge Avenue, and 1100 through 1128 North Cleveland Avenue in the Near North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Parkside Phase 3 Limited Partnership as developer. Anna Booth will provide a brief description of this opportunity on behalf of the Department of Housing.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairwoman Butler and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Anna Booth from the Department of Housing. Joining me today is Senior Development Manager Irene Burke from Holston Real Estate Development Corporation, and also with us today is President of Holston Real Estate, Peter Holston, and Director of Development at the CHA, Alam Curry. As Chairwoman Butler stated, the proposed project before you requests the authority to designate Parkside Phase 3 Limited Partnership as developer for the development known as Parkside Phase 3 to be located at 500 to 520 West Hobby Street, 558 to 576 West Elm Street, 1101 to 1129 North Cambridge Avenue, and 1100 to 1128 North Cleveland Avenue in the Near North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area. This neighborhood is also known as Cabrini Green. The original Cabrini Green development was built over a 20-year period and spanned from Division Street on the north, Halsted Street on the west, Chicago Avenue on the south, and Orleans Street on the east. It produced over 35 housing units and at its peak was home to 15,000 people. In 1994, the Chicago Housing Authority received a Hope 6 grant from the federal government to begin the planning redevelopment of not only Cabrini, but other public housing developments across the Chicagoland area to successfully transform 100% public housing into vibrant mixed-income neighborhoods. Today, the Francis Cabrini row homes are the only remaining structures of the original Cabrini Green development. The last high-rise was demolished in March of 2011. The entire park side of Old Town development spans from Division Street on the north, Larrabee Street on the west, Oak Street on the south, and Orleans Street on the east. Currently, there are 694 mixed-income units on site, which consist of rental and for sale. Of those 694 units, 217 are CHA public housing units, 179 are affordable to households at the 60% area median income levels and below, and 298 are market rate units. This phase of Parkside, which will be the 5th rental phase, will be housed on the western and center portions of the site. The most western building will sit at Larrabee and Elm Streets, and the remaining structures will be located between East-West Streets Elm and Hobby and North-South Streets Cambridge and Cleveland Avenues. All the land is vacant CHA-owned land. Parkside Phase 3 will consist of an 8-story elevator building, townhome-style units, and 3-story walk-up buildings. The 8-story will house 69 units, 2 of the walk-ups will house 12 units each, and 1 will house 6 units. The sizes will range from studios up to 4 bedrooms, with 35 renting to public housing tenants, and of the remaining 64 units, 30 will rent to affordable tenants at the 60% area median income and below levels, and 34 will rent to market rate tenants. There will be a total of 9 studios at 542 square feet, 28 one-bed, one-baths at 689 to 769 square feet, 27 two-bed, one-baths at 1,000 to 1,021 square feet, and 6 at 994 square feet, which will contain 2 baths. 27 three-bed, 2 baths at 1,301 to 1,319 square feet, and 8 4-bed, 2 baths at 1,400 square feet. In addition to the units, the development will offer indoor-outdoor community space, resident garden, fitness center, dog park, and approximately 70 off-street parking spaces. The project will achieve enterprise green communities by incorporating energy-efficient appliances and lighting, high-performance HVAC equipment, low-flow plumbing fixtures, dwelling unit heat pumps, and dwelling unit electrification systems. Approximately 91 temporary construction jobs will be created, and 4 full-time and 2 part-time permanent jobs will also be created. As outlined on the slide, the development team has had numerous and ongoing community engagement and outreach efforts and have met with Alderman Burnett and his office on several occasions. Parkside Associates LLC is the master developer for the Cabrini Extension North project. The developer for this proposed phase is Parkside Phase 3 Limited Partnership, an Illinois limited partnership. Parkside Associates LLC consists of Holston Real Estate Development Corporation with a 60% share and the Cabrini Green Local Advisory Council Community Development Corporation with the 40% share. At closing, Parkside 3 LLC will be the general partner with a 1% share, and a to-be-determined investor acceptable to the city will replace Peter Holston as the limited partner and hold a 99.99% share. The Peter Holston Trust is the sole shareholder of Holston Real Estate Development Corporation. Holston Real Estate has been in business for over 49 years and currently manages over 35 housing units. Their Lawson YMCA development is currently under rehabilitation, and once complete, will offer 409 studio units. In addition to completing the first 4 Parkside of Old Town developments, other developments include, but is not limited to, the Strand Apartments, which is located at 6321 South Cottage Grove and houses 63 units, and the restoration of Lawndale Apartments, located at 10 North Hamlin Avenue and houses 170 units. Additionally, after construction, Holston manages all the projects for the long term with an accounting and management system tailored to meet the needs of these mixed income types of projects. As a property manager, Holston's primary goal is to protect ownership's investment for the entire team. The Cabrini Green LAC Community Development Corporation is a not-for-profit entity formed in 2005 to provide housing and services to the residents of the redeveloped Cabrini Green area. Since its inception, the Cabrini Green LAC Community Development Corporation has partnered with real estate development firms and private businesses to assist residents in obtaining training and employment opportunities. They also actively participate in the Near North Unity program, which is comprised of local religious leaders, park directors, school principals, affordable housing tenants, and condominium developers to build the community. Architectural firms Landenbaum Baker and Brook Architecture are the architects. Landenbaum Baker was established in 1987, and Brook Architecture, which is an MWBE firm, was founded in 1995. Both firms have worked on past city-funded transactions. As is Department of Housing policy, the developer has completed the process of bidding the project out to a minimum 3 general contractors and has chosen the MBE veteran-owned small business firm GMA. GMA is also a concern that has worked on past city transactions. So the total project costs are approximately $65.7 million, and the city is seeking to provide $16.4 million in TIF assistance to the project, which is approximately 25% of the total project costs. The TIF will be provided from project pins as well as area-wide increment, and it is anticipated TIF will be funded in 4 installments of $4.1 million, with 3 being funded during construction and 1 to be funded at construction completion, certificate of occupancy. The developer will bridge any TIF payments needed, as no TIF payments will be made available at closing. In addition to TIF, the city will provide multifamily loan funds up to $4,250,000 and 9% low-income housing tax credits, which will raise equity of approximately $17 million for the benefit of the transaction. The city and IDA will provide Illinois Affordable Housing Tax Credits, also known as donation tax credits, to help raise additional equity of approximately $4.6 million, also for the benefit of the transaction. Donations can be in the form of land or land leases or actual cash, and the CHA will provide the land lease, which is viewed as the donation here, and 50% of that land value, which is valued at $10,150,000, is the amount of DTCs which will be sold to generate the $4.6 million of equity for the project. The permanent first mortgage of approximately $11.6 million will be an amortizing term loan with a market interest rate and 40-year amortization period. And then the CHA will provide up to $11 million in loan funds, which accounts for 17% of total development costs. A ComEd Energy grant of approximately $331,415 and a deferred developer fee will round out the funding sources for this proposed transaction. Collectively combined, the first 4 rental phases of this development produced 431 units, of which 295 rented to CHA Public Housing and affordable households. The total development costs for the 4 were over $172.1 million, and the city provided over $24.8 million in tax-exempt bonds, $9.8 million in 4% bond-generated tax credits, over $27.7 million in TIF funds, $19.6 million in city loan funds, and $3,467,000 in tax credits, which raised over $35 million of equity for the benefit of the 4 combined transactions. The proposed project is located in the Near North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area and will satisfy the following goals of the area's redevelopment plan: eliminate blighted conditions, increase the number of rental units for a variety of income levels, employ project area residents in construction jobs, and strengthen the economic well-being of the project area. The proposed project also conforms to the plan's stated goals and the plan's land use map, which calls for residential, institutional, commercial employment or parks, and open space development at the subject site. The implementation strategy for achieving the plan's goals envisions the need to provide TIF financial assistance for the development of the Parkside Phase 3 mixed income rental development. The Department of Housing has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, the financial structure of the project, its need for its public assistance, its public benefits, and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plan, and the Department of Housing recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the designation of Parkside Phase 3 Limited Partnership as developer for the development known as Parkside Phase 3, again to be located at 500 to 520 West Hobby Street, 558 to 576 West Elm Street, 1101 to 1129 North Cambridge Avenue, and 1100 to 1128 North Cleveland Avenue. Once the proposed Parkside Phase 3 has passed all committee meetings, we will look to close the transaction by year-end, so construction may begin shortly thereafter. Its anticipated construction completion will occur in the third quarter of 2025. Alderman Burnett is very supportive and is here with us today to speak on behalf. And again, we have members from the development team in the audience to answer any questions. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I would now like to recognize Alderman Walter Burnett and invite him to make a statement on the project. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to commend you all and thank you very much for your tenure here on CDC. I know they're paying you all a lot of money, and y'all are fighting for these positions, but but we really appreciate you all and glad we got past the COVID thing, and you, even though y'all look good on video too, but now we can see you in person. You know, I grew up in this community. Matter of fact, on one side of this development is the school I went to, and the other side of the development is the preschool I went to in the church basement, right? So this is my neighborhood. We're very excited about this. Peter Holstein, many years ago, worked with myself in the community and allowed for the community to start a CDC and become partners in this development. It's the only development in the city of Chicago where CHA residents are part owners. In this community on the near north side, the largest property owners in this area is CHA, Ani, probably Ani, and probably JDL. CHA residents, the CHA residents is right there with them. They own just as much property in this area as these other big-time rich people when they come from the projects, and I'm very proud of that. So this development for them is a big deal. We really appreciate Peter Holstein and his cooperation in working with the community Matter of fact, all his security come from the community. Some of his janitors come from the community. This is like a holistic development in our area. And this is how public housing should be all over the country, where you encourage and you nurture the residents from the area to go from renters to become owners. This is a great thing. So I'm in full support of the TIF going to this. This is, the crazy thing about all of these developments, even though we still have some residue of some violence in the community, none of it has come from any of these new developments that have been built. All of the violence come from the old developments that are still there. And so these developments not only have made the community one of the safer communities in the city, but it also has helped all of the other market rate developments in the area to become worthwhile, and some of the most expensive developments in the city of Chicago right in the shadows of mixed income development. So mixed income development is not a bad thing. In this case, it's a good thing. And I support this 100%, and I ask for this body's support also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Burnett. No written statements from the public were submitted on this matter. We can now move to questions from members of the commission. Commissioners Anna Booth and others are available to help answer your questions on this project. Any questions from members of the commission? So, I'm sorry, Commissioner Curtis.
Thank you. I'm just curious, how are the units prioritized in terms of who gets ownership or to rent those? Is it market-based completely, or is there another method of allocation?
You can state
that.
your, you can state your name.
My name is Irene Burke. I'm a Senior Development Manager with Holston Real Estate Development Corporation. So we did kind of a deep dive into allocating the units by CHA, affordable 50%, affordable 60%, and market rate to make sure there was a representative mix by floor and a representative mix by tier. So we generally have allocated more units, larger size units, 3 and 4 bedrooms to CHA, as there's a need for family units and more kind of efficiency in 1 bedroom to market rate. But overall, there's a even distribution throughout the development.
So I'm sorry, you said to market rate, so does that make it a whatever the market will bear type pricing, and so whoever can pay the highest price gets the unit?
So we have a market study to kind of give us a sense of what the development can support. So we went out to a third-party market study provider, American Marketing Services. So that's what we're basing those rents on.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gomez.
My question is on the, that's loud, ownership. So I understand there's CHA residents that are part owners. How were they selected, and how did they have the opportunity? And can they sell their portion? I'm just curious on how that structure works.
So, Anna Booth from Department of Housing. The ownership that we spoke about is the Cabrini Green LAC CDC. They're part ownership of the Development Corporation, not part ownership of home ownership of the units. So these are all rental units, and it's going to be a mix. It's going to be CHA replacement. It's going to be rentals affordable to households at the 60% area median income and below. And then it's going to be rental units for the market rate. But the ownership structure for Holston Real Estate and Cabrini Green, that's where that ownership comes in. They're actually co-partners, co-developers.
With CHA residents?
That's Cabrini Green LAC CDC is made up of former CHA residents. That's where the CHA comes in at.
Commissioner Gomez, other questions?
No, thank you.
Right, great. Secretary Chan McKibben?
I think I want to go back to that particular detail that both my colleagues on both sides had asked. Can we go back to how many units were going to be owned versus rental? And I see that the rental, of the rentals, 50% was, those that are for folks that are 50% AMI or below is 15%, and then 50% of the units are going to be for folks making 60% AMI and below, and then 34% market. So just a general question, how many units are going to be owned versus rented? And then how did you arrive at those proportions? Thanks.
So for clarification, this phase is rental only. There's no home ownership. So all of the units in this phase will be rental. What I referenced early on was in that development, there are some home ownership units as well as rental. This is the 5th rental phase and the final one. We've done 4 rental phases before that and 2 home ownership phases. But this one will all be rental. And so because this is a CHA Plan Forward transformation, a percentage of those rental units will go to CHA public housing tenants. And that is worked from a list from the right to return households. And so they will get the first choice of those units as they come online. And then the affordable will be based off of their income at 60% and 50% of area median income. And then, as Irene stated, the market rate is what the market will be able to bear. And they will be rented to unrestricted individuals and households. But this is all rental. There's no home ownership in this.
Thank you, I understand. So of the proportion this rental, how did you arrive at the number of units for each of these tiers?
Sure. So there's a master development agreement with the CHA that goes back about 20 years. So this development completes that master development agreement. So overall for, excuse me one second. So overall for the development, 32% will be CHA, 26% will be affordable, and 42% will be market rate. So it completes the percentages that were promised to those different unit types at the beginning of this 20-year development.
Secretary Chan McKibben, additional questions?
No additional questions, thank you.
Thank you. Do other members of the commission have questions? If there are no further questions, I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Are there any members of the public that would like to make comments on this item? I don't see any hands raised. So if there are no members of the public who would like to make comments, and if there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will now call the item to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Housing is seeking authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Parkside Phase 3 Limited Partnership for the redevelopment of property located at 500 through 520 West Hobby Street, 558 through 576 West Elm Street, 1101 through 1129 North Cambridge Avenue, and 1100 through 1128 North Cleveland Avenue in the Near North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Parkside Phase 3 Limited Partnership as developer. Do I have a motion? So moved by Commissioner Gomez. Do I have a second? Seconded by Secretary Chan McKibben. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat.
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
And Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioners, for the next item of business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with the Community Builders, Inc. for the disposition of the property located at 4301 West Madison Street, 4309 West Madison Street, and 4329 West Madison Street in the Madison-Austin Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of the property to the community builders if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Ernest Bellamy will provide a brief description of this agenda item on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Butler and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Ernest Bellamy with the Department of Planning and Development. As mentioned today, I bring forward a proposal for land disposition at 4301, 4309, and 4329 West Madison Street. Joining me today are Kamina Brooks, Director of Development for the Community Builders, and architects Roderick Walton of Moody Nolan and Lindsay Sorrell, third entity, as well as staff members with financial incentives and AIS. As previously mentioned, the address of the 3 parcels for disposition are as noted on the screen. Total square footage is 16,853 square feet. The parcels are located within the 28th Ward, Alderman Jason Irvin, in the West Garfield Park community area. The parcels sit within the Madison-Austin TIF, and the developers are the community builders who started to engage with the department in September 2021 with their interest in creating a wellness center at the location, which is part of a broader Sankofa Village development strategy for West Garfield Park. Sankofa Village is led by the Garfield Park Right to Wellness Collaborative in partnership with the community builders and New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church. Total development costs are $35 million. Overall, this is a new market tax credit deal and a to-be-formed non-for-profit support corporation will own the development and provide ongoing maintenance. In late 2022, the Sankofa Village Wellness Center was selected as the winner of the 2022 Chicago Prize. As a developer, the community builders are an experienced Chicago developer. Some of their notable projects are as seen on the screen below. The location of the parcels, again, is within the West Garfield Park community area, 4 blocks west of Pulaski, in between South Kildare and South Costner, along a predominantly commercial corridor stretch of Madison Street. Zoomed in, the lot square footage again is 16,853 square feet with a B32 zoning. Adjacent to 4301 through 09 West Madison is a Cook County Land Bank parcel at 4313 West Madison, which is currently under a purchase agreement by the developer and will be combined with the disposition lots for their proposed development. Here are some aerial renderings of the proposed development. In line with the B32 zoning, the applicant is proposing to build a by right 3-story, nearly 60,000 square foot wellness center, which will include gym and fitness center, clinical space, office space, and community space for cafe and credit union. Here's a street level view from Kildare and Madison Avenue, or Madison Street, pardon, of the proposed development. And the following are proposed elevations for the wellness centers, starting with the north elevation, which will be along Madison Street. Overall materials will be fiber cement panel, brick facade, or face brick, and metal paneling. Here's the south elevation along the alleyway, and the east and west elevations. Moving forward, the overall site plan is as follows, showing how the building will be laid out across the site. Moving forward are the floor plans for the Wellness Center, representing how the major components of the program are divided amongst the floors. Second floor, third floor, finally the roof. And for further detail on the material palette, the following represents the materials which will be utilized on the facade. Having the support of Alderman Irvin, in conclusion, the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and recommends that the CDC approve the land disposition of 4301, 4309, and 4329 West Madison Street. Thank you for your time and consideration. Again, members of the development team are here, as well as city staff, to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ernest. I know that Alderman Jason Irvin supports this project based on the staff report. Is anyone from his office present to make a statement? Okay. I don't see any hands raised, so we will move on. No written statements from the public were submitted on this matter, so we can now move to questions from the commission. Commissioners Ernest Bellamy and others, well, Ernest is specifically joined today by Kamina Brooks, Roderick Walton, and Lindsay Sorrell from the development team. They are available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Wanted to know, Ernest, what is the existing building that's next door that's shown on the plans? There's an existing building. Do you know what that is?
Yes. So the existing building, which is adjacent to the proposed, currently is a vacant storefront along the corridor.
Kamina Brooks again with the Community Builders. And just to answer the question regarding the adjacent building, it is being occupied by a tire shop salesperson currently.
My apologies.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do other members of the commission have questions? Commissioner Curtis.
Thank you. As I looked at the building diagram, I see the YMCA, I saw the cafe, I saw a number of smaller offices or something, rooms. What are those smaller rooms?
Yes, great question. And so I don't know if you can go back to the plan. That's
Sorry,
correct.
can you introduce yourself every
Again?
time you
Oh,
speak?
okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Kamina Brooks again with the Community Builders. As far as the different uses, so YMCA, as you stated, will be occupying spaces, a multi-purpose space on the second floor, as well as a gymnasium. The other uses are offices that will be operated by Rush University Medical Center. Their community health workers will be located on this site, and there will also be a nonprofit office for Westside United. They will also have their headquarters within the center as well. So those are the smaller spaces, which are the offices within the building. And then on the third floor, Erie Family Health, they will take up most all of that floor with a 15,000 square foot health center.
Thank you. No further questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Vice Chair Wheat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for staff, is the expectation that the department or others will come back to the CDC requesting funding for the project proper? I mean, I know we're only voting on the disposition, and I know that this was part of a project with a foundation, but help us understand maybe at a high level what the timeline is and what the thinking is on potentially coming back for additional, is the expectation that you'll come back for TIF funding?
Thank you for the question. I would like to welcome up members of Financial Incentives, the Financial Incentives Division, to join me.
Sure. Terrence Johnson, Assistant Commissioner of DPD. Currently, there is no plan to come back for TIF. TIF is not part of the financing stack for this project.
Thank you. I have nothing else, Madam Chair.
Other, Commissioner Cox.
Again, regarding the financing of the project, I think if it's possible, Terrence, to share a little bit the city's contribution. It's not going to be TIF, but there was a negotiation made that brings resources to the project that the commission should know about.
Sure. Terrence Johnson, Financial Incentives, DPD. So the city will be contributing $5.9 million to the project through other funding sources other than TIF. There was an RDA that with Rush that they wanted out, and letting them out of that RDA, we diverted those funds over to this project here. Basically, they're sales proceeds as opposed to TIF funding.
Do members of the commission have additional questions? If there are no further questions from the commission, I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand and you'll be recognized. I don't see any raised hands. So given that there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will now call item C to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with the Community Builders Incorporated for the disposition of the property located at 4301 West Madison Street, 4309 West Madison Street, and 4329 West Madison Street in the Madison-Austin Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of the property to the Community Builders, Inc. if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion? So moved by Commissioner Thomas. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Gomez. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat?
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben? Yes. Commissioner Buford? Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Gomez?
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
and Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, for the next item of business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with the Chicago Park District for the disposition of property located at 4815, 4823, and 4827 North Sacramento Avenue and 2902, 2940, 2944, and 2954 West Lawrence Avenue in the Lawrence-Kedzie Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of the property to the Chicago Park District if no responsible alternative proposals are received. Meg Gustafson will, Meg Gustafson will provide a brief description of this change on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Sorry for being so tongue-tied, Meg.
It's fine, thank you. For the record, Meg Gustafson, Department of Planning and Development. This is a park district land disposition for an expansion of an existing park, Ronan Park. It's located in the Lawrence-Kedzie redevelopment TIF area. Oops. Hold on, let's do these. Okay. So this is currently seven city-owned parcels located at almost the corner of Sacramento and Lawrence. We're just west of the river, and it's currently being leased to Neighbor Space for Global Garden, Global Gardens. They will then, once we transfer this land to the Park District, they will continue the lease with Neighbor Space for the garden. This is a proposed land write-down for $1 per parcel, and the acreage is 1.64. This is Alderwoman Rodriguez's ward, and she is in support of this project. The current zoning is POS 1 for parks. All 7 lots are vacant and currently are being used as the garden. Recently, you may have heard of this project recently because TIF funds were allocated for environmental cleanup and also for a bigger footprint and a gateway to the river, which I'll come to later. Here's the redevelopment area map. The red star is the project. Here are the 7 parcels. Here is an aerial map. It's highlighted in yellow. You can see the garden beds that are currently there. Here's the zoning map. You can see the footprint of Ronan Park, which is quite large, and the current site photos. The bottom photos are the gardeners that are through Neighbor Space and the Neighbor Space lease. The Park District did an extensive plan, community plan, over the last few years to program this, and the Department of Planning approved $350,000, $3.5 million in TIF funds. These parcels will be part of that TIF expenditure. Here is from the TIF plan. This is not part of the land disposition now, but I wanted to show a picture of what the Park District plans on the land just to the east. So in summary, this is I'm here before you for 7 parcels and a land disposition to the Chicago Park District. Thank you.
Thank you again, Meg. I would now like to recognize Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez and invite her to make her or someone from her office to make a statement on this project. Is anyone from her office present? I don't see any hands raised, so I'd now like to turn to written statements from the public, and none were submitted on this matter, so we can now move to questions from members of the commissioners. Commissioners, Meg is joined today by Michael Lange from the Chicago Park District, and both are available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Curtis.
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious. Is this land prone to flooding? Is it flooding an issue here?
That is a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Michael Lang from the Park District does. No? We'll have to get back to you on that.
More
great
curious
question.
than anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cox?
Yes, no, it's good to see the Park District's plan for completing the park edge there. Is that a project which is currently funded, or there's still?
The $3.5 million in TIF will fund this, as well as environmental cleanup of the garden, the 7 parcels.
And in extension of that, is there any work that Neighbor Space is going to undertake in terms of the community garden part, or is that complete?
That is not complete. They're going to completely rebuild what's there. They're going to clean up the land underneath and rebuild the garden.
With the same resource?
With this, yes. With TIF funds and with the same gardeners that have been there. Correct.
With TIF funds that are already obligated, or TIF funds that they will be coming back?
No, they will not be coming back.
Okay.
This is part of the larger plan that was already approved, the $3.5 million.
So could you just clarify whether TIF for the community garden part that Neighbor Space is undertaking, the funds are there?
The funds are there, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Cox, any further questions?
No. I do recall this site on my tours with the former alderperson, and it has a very, very strong kind of global community that farms here. And I know that there were lots of questions about whether it should be a development site or not. I think clearly the decision that it's a part of the open space network was made, and it's nice to see that there'll actually be physical improvements to the area. So very supportive of the plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there additional questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no further questions, I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. So therefore, if there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will now call this item D to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with the Chicago Park District for the disposition of property located at 4815, 4823, and 4827 North Sacramento Avenue, and 2902, 2940, 2944, and 2954 West Lawrence Avenue in the Lawrence-Kedzie Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of the property to the Chicago Park District if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion? So moved by Vice Chair Wheat. Do I have a second? Seconded by Secretary Chan McKibben. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat.
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
And Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes. Commissioners, for the next item of business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to acquire property located at 4319 South Indiana Avenue in the 47th King Drive Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area from the Chicago Park District. Meg Gustafson will provide a brief description of this agenda item on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon again. For the record, my name is Meg Gustafson with the Department of Planning and Development. Before you, we have an acquisition from the Chicago Park District, 4319 South Indiana, in the 47th and King Drive redevelopment area. This is in Alderwoman Dowell's ward, and she is in strong support of this project. This is currently a pocket park that was built on one parcel, and it is 0.23 acres. The community and Alderman Dowell wish for it to be closed and sold to the city of Chicago. There's ample parks in the area. I'll go to the next slide here. And we've spent city resources on other new parks in the last decade or so. Here's the 47th and King Drive TIF redevelopment area map. The star is the park. Here's another location map for you. See, Pendleton Park is very close, and Metcalf Park. There's also some other pocket parks nearby. The zoning map here shows that it's a mid-block small park. Here is the parcel map. It is a 60-foot wide parcel. And here is a site photo. The Chicago Park District removed the playground. The site is currently fenced, and I wanted to show a new housing development just to the north. We have support from the aldermen. We want to buy back this park that was not successful in the community area. I believe that is my last slide. I have Michael Lang here from the Chicago Park District to answer any specific questions that I can add. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you again, Meg. I don't see Alderwoman Pat Dow with us. We know that from the presentation that was just submitted to the commission that she is in strong support of the project. Is there anyone from her office here who would like to make a statement? I don't see any hands raised. No written statements from the public were submitted on this matter. We can now move to questions from members of the members of the commission. Commissioners, Meg is joined again by Michael Lang from the Chicago Park District. They are available to help answer your questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Secretary Chan McKibben.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm somewhat familiar with the area, just curious about why you think the park is not successful. Thank you.
Because it's it's a legacy pocket park that during sort of the urban renewal days where there was a handful of these in a lot of neighborhoods, and the park district has a hard time maintaining such small pocket parks. The alderman feels that it was an opportunity for crime and that it would be better used as another use. There's also a lot of parks nearby. So that was the other theory.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Gomez.
Thank you. What's the intent or purposes of the land?
Good question. I think our department's general theory would be infill housing, but we don't have a proposal at this time. Follow up.
Yes, Commissioner Gomez.
So would it then just go back out to advertise? Is that kind of the process?
Correct. It would be in the city's inventory, and our neighborhood planners would consider it as a vacant lot for development. Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any additional questions, Commissioner Gomez? No, thank you. Great, thank you. Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no further questions from members of the commission, I'd like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. If there's anyone who would like to make a comment, please signify so by raising your hand I don't see any hands raised. So if there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will now call agenda item E to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to acquire property located at 4319 South Indiana Avenue in the 47th King Drive Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area from the Chicago Park District. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Thomas. Do I have a second? Seconded by Vice Chair Wheat. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat.
Yes.
Secretary Chamakiban. Yes. Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
And Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Commissioners, for the next and final item of business, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Hyde Park Storage, Inc. for the disposition of properties located at 4032 South Michigan Avenue in the 47th King Drive Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of the property to Hyde Park Self-Storage, Inc. if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Taylor Thompson will provide a brief description of this agenda item on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Butler and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Taylor Thompson, and I'm representing the Department of Planning and Development. This project is the proposed market rate sale of 4032 South Michigan Avenue to Hyde Park Self-Storage, Inc. The city parcel is located within the 47th and King Drive TIF redevelopment area, within the 3rd Ward with the support of Alderwoman Pat Dow. Community Development Commission approval is required for the sale of the property located within a redevelopment area. This slide provides an overview of the land sale project. The purchaser is Hyde Park Self-Storage, Inc., whose principals are Derek Spencer and Jeffrey Spencer. They own and operate the adjacent Aaron Bros Moving System, Inc., located at 4034 South Michigan Avenue, which is a private city-certified business providing a self-storage and moving services to businesses, property owners, and individuals within the city of Chicago. The appraised value of the city lot is $80,000, which is the agreed purchase price. The current zoning of the property is B3-2, which permits the proposed project. The property completed an environmental phase 1 study and has AI's clearance for sale with a D restriction to remain used for employee parking and open space. This slide shows the location of the disposition parcel within Grand Boulevard and within the 47th and King Drive TIF redevelopment area. The TIF district was created in 2002, and its redevelopment objectives included encouraging private investment and redevelopment of underutilized properties. The above parcel map identifies the city parcel at 4032 South Michigan Avenue, outlined in red, and the applicant's lot outlined in yellow. The aerial map shows the location of the property and where the location of the property and where the proposed employee parking will be developed. This slide is the Google Street View, which shows the city lot and the applicant's building to the south. This is their proposed site plan. The architect of record is Silvestro Design Operations. Planned improvements include 11 parking spaces, an employee picnic area, an electric car charging station, and landscaping improvements. In an added site photo, I do have Derek Spencer, who represents the development team. So in summary, the Department of Planning and Development has thoroughly reviewed the proposal for the sale of city property located at 4032 South Michigan Avenue to Hyde Park Self-Storage, Inc. The department has reviewed its public benefits and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plan. The department recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the approval for the city's disposition of property. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Taylor. I know that Alderwoman Dow is not here with us, nor a member of her staff, but as your staff report indicates, she is in strong support of this market rate sale.
Sorry, can you go to the site plan?
Yes.
Commissioner Cox, can I, before you ask questions, if I would like to just acknowledge that no written statements from the public were submitted on this matter. And now I will turn over to members of the commission for questions. Commissioner Cox.
No, just the image passed by so quickly, I wasn't able to see whether the department's recommendations had been incorporated into the space. And I see that involves additional screening to the edge of the site for, to protect against kind of encroachment from this use to a residential use next door, and that a pretty handsome outdoor eating area is being provided for employees that pushes the actual parking pretty far back on the site. And so these were all things that we had a kind of back and forth with the owner, and it's good to see them incorporated and that there's no curb cut from the street. So I see why Alderman Dow would be supportive of helping this business, park appropriately, but also to provide some quality outdoor space for employees. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there other questions or comments from members of the commission? If there are no further questions from members of the commission, I would now like to invite members of the public who are in attendance and interested to speak on this item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. So given that there are no further questions or comments regarding the matter before us, I will call item F to a vote. The resolution before us, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking authority to advertise its intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Hyde Park Self-Storage, Inc. for the disposition of properties located at 4032 South Michigan Avenue in the 47th King Drive Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals, and to approve the sale of the property to Hyde Park Self-Storage, Inc. if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Thomas. Do I have a second? Seconded by Secretary Chan McKibben. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Wheat?
Yes.
Secretary Chan McKibben?
Yes.
Commissioner Buford? Commissioner Cox?
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Gomez?
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
And Chair Hatton Butler votes yes. The motion passes. Commissioners, that was our last item on today's agenda, and I would now like to request a motion to adjourn. Any objection to adjourning? I see none. All those in favor signify by saying yes, yes. All opposed signify by saying no. The yeas have it. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
I know. I'm like, now I have to set for time to like come into the building, going up the stairs, going to the thing, running into people in the hallway.
That's right.
Exactly.
Trying to remember, because I've done this.
You went
kind of
It's a bit-
information sharing?
It's sharing updates on what, mostly it's our contractors, our engineers. We usually get about 85 people at the East Bank Club.
Yep, I recall.
You fill up the space.
Good job.
You bring them out.
I was, trying to think of,
'Cause last time you were.
yeah.
I don't.
I remember, I mean, it was Invest Up West and
Yes.
Flatwood.
That's
was
right.
With Celadon, gave some testimony.
Yeah. Since then, they've come out to some of our events.
You also know that they won 5 projects now. This is 105 West Adams in the LaSalle Street corridor.
Yes.
And now
This is
Jose,
be
Jose,
renovated.
Oh, that's your
Jose
phone.
mentioned
I gotta
it.
give this back to them, right?
And all of that is because of the relationship that is built with Invest Out West. It'll be the largest project taken by Latino. Huh?
What other Latino developers are there?
I mean,
I don't know any
there are
other
some
ones.
that their organization, the Pioneeros, is also.
Oh, yeah, but that's,
There's Puck Road there too.
But that's Juan Moreno,
Yeah,
but he's
one
an
of them,
architect.
but then Park Road is on the side of it.
Okay. But like developer, I was like, is Blackwood the only one around?
There's the affordable housing space, resurrection project.
Oh, yeah, true. But in
And
the-
so it's mostly they've been in that space, but this is, so I will do a bit of a scan of things that are relevant to the Latino community, but this is a classic example of creating opportunity and establishing the relationships stemmed from that. So I'll try to see presentation that you see.
PowerPoint,
About,
we have, 10 or 15. It's
Okay.
up to you,
Yeah.
really. But if you want to leave for answering questions, but about 10
have
minutes.
you had a chance to meet the new Latino older people?
I have mine already.
There are many.
So I just which Latino? I just met.
They're
So I
new.
just
They're-
actually.
they're Cruz,
So Chico's
Fuentes,
the one that I got
stuck with
in the
Yeah.
hallway,
Yeah.
and so
Well, you should reach
so
out. They're
I haven't
dynamos.
met
They're dynamos.
I haven't met Fuentes.
Yeah.
I haven't actually. I wonder if
Yeah, you should reach out. We've been doing orientations with all of the new people. I've been really